Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt here with life coach and energy coach Linda Armstrong. Today is Friday, February the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. It's 4 p.m. New York time, and wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I'm happy that the weekend's almost here and that the stuff I was dealing with today, I don't have to deal with anymore. That's like finding the bright side of difficult stuff. That's my way of saying it today. And I spent it. I'll just give you one little clue. I spent 3 hours today looking for a single letter.
No fun at all.
That was the difference between a program that was working and a program that was not working. One letter.
You mean like a written letter in a cabinet somewhere?
No, I mean like computer code, one letter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm talking about like needle in a haystack letter.
Did you find it?
I did find it. I found it about 10 minutes before we started the show, but oh my goodness. So I am really glad I found that letter.
So, did you think to ask your guides and your angels to find it for you?
I was asking everybody I could think of to help find it. Yes. Yeah. And ultimately, what I ended up having to do was to go to the store. Just breaking my concentration on it and breaking away from it. Then all of a sudden it just came out. I was just blocking it and I didn't know I was blocking it. That's all it was. Yeah. It was so simple. And it's just amazing. I mean, little simple things we can allow to just block ourselves. Right?
Yep.
Which is what you spend most of your time with clients doing, helping them to unblock those little tiny blocks they set for themselves.
So then what was actually good about the whole thing? Like what was right about that whole situation?
There's a couple things that were right about it. I am learning a programming language that is relatively new to me. It's based on a language I know fairly well, but it's a new iteration of it, I guess you might call it. And I'm learning a lot more about the intricacies of how it's put together. And that's helpful because when you run into other problems like this later on, it makes it easier to figure them out, because you understand a little bit better how the whole thing's put together. So that's one part of it. Another part of it is, a really big part is that this was like the extension of a breakthrough earlier this week. I'd been trying for months to try to find a relatively easy and yet secure way to get my little app to communicate with something outside of itself, exchanging information back and forth, which sounds so simple when I say it that way. It's amazing how difficult it turned out to be, but I finally broke through and figured that out. So this is like, this was a minor issue compared to that. So it was actually good from that perspective. It wasn't nearly as difficult as the other one because the other one took 3 months to fix. This one took a couple hours. That was a big difference.
So what had you finally decide to walk away and just leave it?
Well, actually, it was almost by default, really. It wasn't so much a conscious intention, although I kind of recognized as I was walking away that it would be a good idea. But no, I just hadn't gotten a Valentine's Day card for Louise yet. So I just had to go out and get a card. It was simple.
Yeah.
Little things.
So you could almost say that Louise saved you today.
In a sense, she did. Yeah. In a sense, she did. Yeah. And she's cooking up a dinner for us, and I can smell it in the background. So she's saving me twice. And it smells delicious. Oh, it smells really, really good. It's going to be hard to do this show. I have a lot of sensory stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
So how are things with you? What's new in your neck of the woods?
Things are pretty good. Let's see. Do you have a topic that you wanted to talk about or anything that came up during the week that you've seen hanging around?
Not especially. I mean, it was more about, gratitude, I guess, because I'm appreciative that I was able to have a big breakthrough in this little breakthrough today. And Daniel Mangana, who's doing the Tuesday and Thursday shows with me and Alex King, brought up yesterday how big a deal gratitude was in his life. I mean, he literally did a crash and burn after implementing a whole conscious creation program for himself that fell apart because he forgot to do the gratitude piece. So, gratitude is pretty darn important.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I had put a video out a couple of days ago regarding pretty much just returning back to you, which has been a big message throughout the months anyway, with a lot of the readings. Because we tend to put our focus outside of ourselves on how we think things ought to be done.
Oh yeah.
And
Mm.
so I was explaining in that video how, you know, over the summer, my business really dropped. I still had some clients, but it wasn't like it normally was.
Hmm.
And I started to realize once again, in a different way, that I was trying to conform to things that I've learned in different people's programs and what they
Mm.
say to build your business. You have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. But none of that feels actually, see, it comes back to really getting back in tune with yourself, because none of that feels
Mm.
totally right with me. Like sometimes I like doing some of these things, but I don't like having to do them, like
Yes.
social media blast, the email blast, whatever else it might be.
Right.
So when I started to realize, wait a minute, I just got to do what's right for me. And I started returning back to me. And I had a few things happen physically that I had to stop and take my attention onto me. It's like all these messages were like, Linda, you're losing yourself. Come back to who you are, right? And part of who I am is an artist. I was born an artist. I think I've always been an artist, even though I'm a healer. And I think I've always been a healer. But those two things work together with me. And I was kind of like not really paying attention to the artist part of me. And there are times where I use that energy through landscaping or through decorating in my home, or I'd come back and I'd
Mhm.
do some mosaics. I was doing that for a while, but then lost touch and started focusing hard on something.
Yeah.
And so I realized, okay, that was coming to me like in meditation or in the shower, like these images of things I could create. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I just got to start being me again. And somehow I got the message, like, just do what you love, right? So I started doing all this creative stuff again and not worrying about anything to do with how I'm supposed to build my business.
Hmm.
And also, I did another video on that too, and we talked about it, pulling energy from all those people out there that I could support in some way, that I could inspire, that I can help to heal situations in their life. And I put it to past, present, and future, right? Clients, people that I know. And what's happened is I have like past clients coming back who I haven't coached in
Nice.
like a year or so, new people, brand new people, people that I've been working with recently that are coming in for like one here, one there instead of like a
Hmm.
3 month or a 6 month. And so everything changed. And I know it has to do with me being me again and doing things I love, like the artwork, um, and pulling this energy from the universe and asking a lot of questions. So it's
Yeah.
like, all right, universe, how would it work best for me to grow my business?
That's
You
good.
ask, I don't have to figure it out. So the problem is when you start trying to figure it out, you put the brakes on it. It's like when there's something you want to create and you keep looking at the absence of it, you're shifting the energy to not creating it. So it all gets back to the same thing. So maybe we'll talk about that kind of thing. We'll see if anything comes up with that with the cards. But I think
Yeah.
it's just a big message to really return back to you. So like earlier, you were losing yourself in this thing that you were trying to figure out.
Right.
I
Yep.
mean, it doesn't have to be like a strong pattern. It could be something coming up just now in this day.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So yeah, so when you're in that kind of frantic, not figuring out, getting frustration, that's not your true nature. That's not your true energy. Your true energy is that guy that goes walking in the morning and all these people are like, hey, how you doing? It's a different energy. So that's kind of ties in right there.
Well, I'd say it ties in a big way. I can really relate to the part of your story where you talked about how you were doing these business building marketing things that didn't feel right. I did that for years. In fact, I was teaching and coaching other people how to do that same kind of thing. And it literally made me feel miserable, really, really miserable. I did not like it at all. And it wasn't until I let go of that that I started seeing an important shift in my financial fortunes just because I let go of that. Not that there was anything wrong with anything I was teaching people, but it just wasn't right for me. It
Absolutely.
just didn't fit me. It just didn't fit.
And that's the key. It's like, and even in the video, I'm saying, like, here I am, I'm teaching you something. It either resonates
Mhm.
or it doesn't. You got to take what works for you and not, whenever you start trying, like I hate that word trying, forcing,
Mm.
um,
Forcing is a better
having
word.
having a point of view that it has to be that way because that way worked for other people,
Yeah.
or that's all just different points of views that are not truly yours.
Right.
So when you lose sight of what feels right for you. And again, you could feel it in your body. Like, does this, like, it didn't feel right. It felt heavy to do so. And I'm like, oh,
Ugh.
I can't create from here. This is not right. And then, it took it getting pretty heavy for me to actually realize, wait a minute, what do my guides always tell me? There's no right way. Find your own way and keep it simple. So why
Good.
did I stop listening to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good at that. Stopping what works and going to what doesn't work. It's amazing to me how often I do that in my life, and I'm doing it less and less. That's the good news. I'm doing it a lot less than I used to. I'm paying more attention to what feels right, what feels good, even when what feels good doesn't make sense, which is the hard one.
Yeah. And that's usually the best ones.
Well, usually, yeah, but that's make doesn't make it any easier. It's still like, oh God, I'm really just putting myself out there, and I have no hope that anything's going to come out of this. But I know it's the right way, but it just doesn't. Oh God, can I do this?
Yeah.
All kinds of doubts creep in.
So why don't we all just say yes if you agree to it? Why don't we all just choose to, let's see, which way do I want to do this? So we'll do a clearing on that. So you can
Okay.
say it along with me. With the sound mind and absolute intention, I now call for the cancellation of all vows, oaths, and decisions that compel me and make me look outside of myself for solutions that make me feel that what I know is not right or not good enough. Let's just release all of those vows, those decisions, just send them to the light, release it all. And then we'll go as far as just to pot and pocket all, right? That's access consciousness. Uh, Clear it all, right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And just leave it. Bye.
I'm glad you said that because there's no way I could have said all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So yeah, let's clear that. We don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's all old paradigms, all old stories, and the energy coming to the planet now is changing all that. It's stirring it all up, right? Things are coming up, so you can be like, yeah, because really, like, why was that happening? I don't even know, but maybe because I needed to get this point stronger, so I can own it for myself and allow, help other people to allow themselves to own it for themselves.
That's true what you just said. Well, there's like one piece I'm really kind of latching onto where you talked about stuff coming into your face. It seems to me that is happening a lot more to me. And I'm wondering, is it actually happening more or am I just recognizing it more? I
Your
suspect it's the
awareness,
latter.
I would say your awareness is
Yeah.
growing, your consciousness is growing. So with awareness, there's more that you can see. And because your awareness is expanding, now that you have tools to change things. So here,
Mhm.
bring it on,
Yeah.
universe. Show me those things. Say, what do I need to change in my life? What things would benefit me to shift and transform into something else? What things do I need to let go of? And you just ask. You don't try to figure it out. Then the things pop up. You're like, oh, okay, let's do something about this one.
Daniel, speaking of Dan Mangena, also posted something on Facebook today, and I'm trying to remember the exact thing he posted. He asked for people's input on a comparison. It was a comparison between essentially intuition, listening to your gut, and something else. I can't remember what the other something else was, but the listening to your gut is the part that I'm thinking about, and that essentially you're talking about here, listening to that inside voice, so to speak. And the reason I'm bringing it up is there are a few reasons for it. One is that early on, when you're trying to learn this stuff, it's hard to know what to pay attention to. And then second, when you do start to get an idea of what to listen to, so to speak, what to pay attention to, then it's a question of, can I trust it well enough to act on it? And then if you can get to the point, and this is really the great point, where you can actually act on it and then start to get results, but you don't always get them as consistently as you'd like to, well, then what do you do with it then?
You
And
keep checking in. So you'll feel it in your body. If it'll feel lighter if it's the right action, or if it's the
Mhm.
right thing, or it's taking you in the right place. And it'll feel heavier if it isn't. So you use your body like that pendulum, to help guide you with those things that are coming up, what to
Mhm.
pay attention to, what to shift. Is this the direction to go? Does this feel right for me? And feel it. And so the more you do it, the more you get used to what's a yes for your body, what's a no for your body.
Yeah,
Right?
true. You're really just learning a language there. It's a
Yeah.
simplified language, and
Yeah.
you're just trying to be consistently receiving the information.
Yeah. And your body is a tool for you. So, it's not, it, you live in it. It assists you, right? It helps you. It's a part of you, but it is also separate from you. It has its own consciousness. Like everything is made up of atoms and molecules, and all of that has consciousness.
Consciousness, in this case, I would say you're equating to source energy.
Yeah, whatever you want to determine
Hmm.
that is, but it might be different for a lot of people. Source, God, spirit,
Hmm.
the universe.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah. So you're kind of just asking those questions, letting your body be that tuner that is that probably communicates much easier with your higher mind than with the one in here, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
we're training this one to understand that communion and to feel, like you ask your body, do you really want to have this coffee right now? And feel it. It's like I'm working with this more and more. I pretty much know my yes and my no, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know, was that a yes or was that a no? Is that because I know I really wanted that to be a
Mhm.
yes and I'm going to bypass what my body's telling me? So you have to get used to it to feel yes and a no. So I'm getting there.
Sort of an example of that is something Louise and I are doing. We've made some conscious changes in our dietary pattern, uh, basically cutting out some sugars and carbs that we really don't need. And as anyone who's gone through that process knows, you kind of go through like a detoxification process. Your body's kind of getting rid of the junk, and while it's getting rid of the junk, it's also saying, well, I kind of fiend after that thing. That I really want that. I'm hungry for that sugar. I'm hungry for that carb, whatever it is. And it's kind of like trying to discern the difference between, well, yeah, am I really hungry for that, or is this just the withdrawal symptoms? And pretty quickly, just by making this an intention, a very strong intention that we've both made, it doesn't take us long. It's pretty clear that, yeah, okay, that's just the body fiending. That's all that is, and that's going to go away pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So intention plays a big role. I think it plays a
Yeah.
role in helping to identify what is the difference between that internal voice and a distracting voice, such as what I just described.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to add, you can always ask for signs. Now it's funny because while you're speaking, I get a text from one of my cousins who just went down to South Carolina with her mom and her husband. Her dad passed away a couple of years ago, and they're at this coffee shop, or what did she say? Sitting at a coffee bar with mom and dad in South Carolina. Look what shows up on the desk on the couch next to us. So they sit on some random couch, and right next to them, in the seat next to them, is a dime. That's her dad's sign.
Oh, okay.
There's a dime on the seat right next to him. So he's there hanging out with them as well. Like, I'm here, I'm with you. So it's just a matter of paying attention to things. Like a lot of people would be like, oh, a dime. Unless you were unless you had some kind of conscious awareness that you can receive communication in that form. Oh, my
Yeah.
dog's crying. Let's see what happens. They might get noisy today. My husband and my son took my cat to the vet.
Oh
So there's
my.
nobody keeping those guys quiet out there.
Ah, I
I'll use my
see. Okay.
magic wand to ask them to be quiet.
There you go. Well, we'll just think very calm and happy thoughts
Let's
for
see
them,
what
and that'll help them.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, and in fact, as you were talking about that, it was reminding me that signs are something that it's only a sign if it's meaningful to you. Signs aren't something you can kind of really ask somebody else to tell you what it is. I mean, you can, but unless you're identifying what it means to you, it's not really helpful. You
Yeah,
have to know what it means
because
to you.
uh, somebody else's spirit message from a loved one might be a feather, or it
Hmm.
might be a combination of things. It depends on the person. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But if you're getting a lot of repetitive things in some way, and you're like, everywhere I go, there's this freaking dime. I collect dimes everywhere. Okay, so ask yourself, ask the universe, who's sending me the dimes? And then just wait till the answer comes. It might come then, it might come later on. Next thing you know, someone calls you up and asks you about how so and so is doing since so and so passed, or who knows what. Like,
Mhm.
the information will come as long as we keep asking the questions.
Yeah, basically what we're looking for is an association between that dime or whatever the sign is and whoever you're hearing from or whatever the message is that you're hearing. And
Yeah.
and once we make the association, that's why I say it's really up to us what that is, because the association has to be meaningful to us. If it's not meaningful, it's going to be hard to buy into it. But
Yeah.
it's almost always meaningful.
I'll give you another example. Cardinals speak big to me because that
Hmm.
was my playing the game with the universe when I first came across Abraham and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So cardinals usually if I ask specifically about something, the cardinal shows up, I know it's for that, right? But sometimes they just show up. Maybe I'm like, my energy's a little low, and then a cardinal shows up, and it's like my energy shifts. I'm like, oh, thank you, you little healer, you know, like the energy came. But there's other times when I might see them and it won't have that impact on me.
Mhm.
So it's just pretty to look at. I'm grateful that I get to see these beautiful birds and they're coming that way. But there wasn't any, I didn't feel any particular message with that sighting. It's just, just a little love tap. You know what I mean?
So,
Yeah.
so a key in there is that the message is, there's a message there if there's an enhanced feeling. The feeling is what tells you that there's a message.
You'll know, it'll hit you in some way.
Yeah.
Like coincidence. There's no such thing as coincidences, right? And they usually do hit you like, what the heck was that? Okay, there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. I guess that's really then what the learning about your own signs is all about, is what does it mean to you? When does it feel like it's a strong thing coming through, as opposed to just seeing another example of X, whatever X is, and then paying attention.
Right. So I guess the reason why I'm bringing up, if you're seeing it over and over again, maybe because you're not aware that you're not, if you're just opening up to this or just hearing it for the first time, you might be like, oh, this one thing always comes. I'm always like, why do I see so many of those? Okay, there's probably a good reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have an understanding that, oh, that could be some kind of sign from the universe or from spirit or from someone who left or from my angels,
So isn't that pretty much the same thing as doing what you're doing right now? You pulled out one of the card decks, which we usually do on Fridays. Isn't working with spirit cards and so forth, isn't that basically learning to take those communications that come through?
Right, because right now I'm asking for a message for the collective, whoever might be happening on this video, but whether they see it or they listen audibly through any of the apps or through the YouTube channel.
Right.
What would be beneficial for me to share right now?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the intention, and then I just let the cards come out. So let's see what we get.
All right.
We get the dogs barking. Did you hear him? The dragon.
Ooh. Power and strength, it says.
Power and strength. Okay, let's look and see. Nice. I like that. I like that dragon. 24.
I felt like I slayed a dragon earlier this week.
Earlier, not even today. Earlier this week.
Well, today was a little dragon, but earlier this week that was the big dragon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's go and see what it says. The dragon comes to offer you its power and strength to protect and fortify you on this leg of your journey. The dragon symbolizes true power and reminds you that this infinite source is not found within your personality or your ego. True power resides deep within your soul. So call on the dragon's spiritual power and strength, and you will find a vast resource to strengthen your resolve. Through morality, integrity, and purpose. If you're struggling with these issues, the dragon will restore them to you. Remember that the power of the spiritual world can never be broken, and true strength is found within, not in the outside world. Never mistake a gentleman for a weak one. Watch for a signal. The dragon always makes the next step clear, and it gives you the power to take it. So why don't we all of us just ask that dragon energy to do that, to show that to us, the next step on this journey or what that is, help make that next step clear.
That's an interesting thing, because very often, partly because of the way the mythology is written, we associate dragons with being angry beasts that are out to get us or something like that. But this is turning that whole concept around and turning it into a positive. And it reminds me that it's like any other sign. How do you take that sign? Do you take it as a threat, or do you take it as a benefit? What this card is essentially saying is, this is a benefit. This is a big benefit. Right. Use it as a benefit.
Yeah, and so a lot of that is based on what are those other stories that we bought into? And what if we were to decide what it meant for us, But this is just another story too, right? But what feels better?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to go with?
Yeah.
We do have a choice on this stuff. We get to choose which direction we're going to go.
You know what? I wonder if they have dragon in this deck. I want to take a look. I
We're on
can't
a
recall.
dragon quest.
I can't recall all the things I've read about dragons.
Well, I like the idea of a dragon being a power that you can draw upon because, I mean, there are times when we feel like we need to have more power. We feel maybe not powerless, but like we could use a little bit more strength and energy to get through something. Be able to draw on something like that. That's a good image, a good metaphor to draw on. It's a way of making that connection to the inside and making it meaningful in a way that just kind of works for you. I like that. I like that one a lot. I'm going to keep that one in mind.
I remember doing something with my gait instructor, and we were using dragon energy, but it was a strong nurturing energy. Yeah.
Nurturing. Definitely not something I would normally have associated with dragons. So once again, showing that your perspective is everything. How are you going to look at that dragon? How are you going to perceive it?
No dragon in there.
No dragon in there.
So if you want to look up more on dragon, if it's calling to you in some way, go on and do that.
I probably will. Yeah. Later on tonight, actually.
I'm talking to everybody, not just to you.
Well, that's all right. I mean, they're welcome to do it too. Well, let's compare notes, go into the group online and we'll just share notes on it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Dragon. If I weren't on my iPad, I could look it up quick, but it's too hard to do it with Zoom on my iPad. All right, so that was cool.
I think we got out of it what we needed to get for now, and that's the most important thing.
So let me go to this deck. See if we can add to that. So what else is new? It's sunny and it's cold in this neck of the woods.
Oh my goodness. It's like winter decided to give us one last, push before it starts getting warmer or something. Tonight's supposed to be, I think, 8 degrees above freezing by around 5 or 6 a.m., something like that. Yeah, it's getting my attention. Let's put it that way.
Except on Sunday, it's going to be up in the 40s again.
Yeah, which is where we've been. Right.
Yeah. So. And I think that's amazing. And I'm really grateful for that because I would like to see that continue, because sometimes February and March could be like really tough.
Oh, no kidding.
Over here. Yeah.
I'm with you on that. I mean, Louise might be in disagreement because she loves the snow, but I'm not unhappy. I'm quite pleased with the idea that we're getting a warmer winter. I get through the winter a lot easier that way. So
okay. I want you to pick number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4.
4.
Okay, because these cards fell out of the deck.
Okay.
So 4 says the F word.
Okay.
It's going to be a different F for sure, but let's see. See, look.
It really does say F. Okay.
The F word. Let's find that. I have never read this card before. Okay. The F word is whatever you see it as at this time. No excuses. Frustrated, fixated, fasting, food, forgetful, fat, foreplay, frightened, fanatical, forgotten, fugitive, forgetful, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And it's funny because we go right to a different word, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it says, you know what your word is in this moment. So stop fighting it. Take your F word and shout it out to the universe. Oh, so it could have been frustration for you earlier today, right?
It was earlier today. As you were reading that, you know what it was? It was actually fun.
Oh, good.
It was fun.
So that's a nice flip from frustration to fun.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Big flip.
So it says, take your F word and shout it out so the universal vibration is released into the cosmos and move forward with a new word that will create the magnificent flow you desire. So it kind of sounds like you already took one of those not so nice F words and switched it to an awesome F word.
Well, I also noticed we came up with another F word that we kind of slipped past it, but it's probably the best one of all to describe what we just said. Flip. We flipped.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the best F word of all. You can flip anything that you need to flip. If you're in that bad place, you just flip it.
All right, so let's go to the energy deck.
I actually have a question too that I'll bring up with you. See what you think about it. Because I've been somehow on a lot of the shows this week, we've been talking about meditation more than we often do. And meditation is one of those things that for the longest time I felt like I couldn't do it. Lately, I've gotten more into, okay, yeah, I can do it, and I can actually get some benefit from it. And as so often happens when I'm exploring something and finding value in it, all of a sudden I guess you could say my consciousness expands on it. I become more interested in a lot more about it. And so I was doing some reading online and reading about the different brainwave states, alpha, beta, theta, delta, gamma, all that stuff. And reading about gamma, the gamma state and gamma waves and so forth, it made me wonder. First of all, there's a lot that people associate with that state. It's the most rapid state. It's the smallest wave, but it's also the most rapid wave, and it's associated with all kinds of advanced creative powers and so forth. So it seems like a desired state to be in. And I guess what the question I'm trying to answer, I don't even know if you will know the answer. So if you don't, that's okay. But I'm throwing it out there. Is there a way through meditation to deliberately get to the gamma state so you can explore it more?
I'm sure there probably is.
Probably. I haven't found it yet, but I'm throwing it
I
out there
know.
just to see.
I know it's very easy to get into the theta brain. For me, anyway, it's very easy to get into that theta brainwave. I mean, I pretty much, I think, can walk around in theta brainwave most of the time.
There are some people who drive cars that way.
But it's a very theta brainwave is a very very open, but it's very receptive.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so you can. I mean, that's where a lot of the energy healing work I do, it happens in that theta brainwave because it's very hypnotic.
Yeah, it's very suggestible.
Yeah. So I know I don't know the answer to your question. I think I do know. Yeah, like one of the mediums I know, she had her brain connected to a machine while she was doing
Right.
mediumship, and like they were amazed how she went right into that space.
Mm. Yeah.
Right. So I think maybe, you know, and she wasn't meditating, she was just doing her thing, making that connection.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what the reading that I was reading was suggesting, that there are a lot of different ways to get there, and that the people who are adept at getting there have been getting there for a long time through a whole bunch of practices that they just keep doing over and over and over again. So I guess I'm looking for. I guess I'm putting it out here both verbally as well as in my thoughts. You know, what's my way to get there? And
That's it. Ask the universe, how do
yeah,
I get to the gamma
how
brainwave?
do I get there? Yeah, where's the
Yeah.
door?
Or how often am I there? You probably don't even know
well,
it.
that's just exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. I could be there at times and have no idea that I'm there. It's kind of like being in that frame of mind where you're trying for the first time to connect to that inner being, and you're not really sure if you're getting there. And over time, you learn more about what that is to connect. Oh, yeah, okay. So I guess that's what a connection is. I could be doing
Yeah.
the same thing where this gamma wave thing
So
is.
I mean, you know, I haven't done any studying on it, but if it kind of feels to me that like when you're in that state, like a lot of times when I'm doing my healing work, information's just coming in. It's like the awareness. I don't know what the brainwave I might be in. It's definitely theta or above, so it could be the gamma, where you just know. So you know when you feel really keyed out, like like your energy is like so open, and you're like, whoa, what's you know, like everything's brighter. Like I would say, you know, that could
My
be an
suspicion.
indicator.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
suspect that's gamma also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suspect that the awareness is greater. And so
And the
that is
thing
the
is
clue.
to do is notice when you're there.
Mm.
I remember one time I was just looking at this amazing rainbow over my house, and I'm like, wow. And the energy that came through and that I felt and the expansion I had was like, just looking at that put me right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh my God, I got to run and get my camera. I got to get a picture of this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And in fact, it's almost you're returning back to that, you know, kid-like nature where it's like
sure.
everything's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's exactly the way it is. I mean, I think Louise and I were probably in gamma wavelength a great deal of the time when we were on vacation, because so much of it was so much fun. We were just feeling so good so much of the time. And I kind of figured that was probably, if it wasn't gamma, it was pretty darn close.
Yeah. So I never really studied that too much to be able to talk about it. Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not even sure why I'm asking about it. That's the part that's really
Because
confusing.
because you have to ask that to the universe and it'll come through.
Well, yeah,
You'll
I
probably
guess
notice
that's part of
something
the
that
answer.
you'll probably notice something this coming week, you know. Oh, the dog's like that. Now they're howling. You can hear it, right?
I do hear it. Yes.
Okay. All right. So the card that fell out of the deck while I was shuffling up the energy deck was the World in the upright position.
Ah, okay.
That's a good card.
We're getting some very broad general cards today that cover a whole lot of stuff.
So maybe it's just showing how there is so much that you can tap into in this infinite universe.
Yeah, that could be.
All right. Expansion, opening up is what this card is about. So it says, let me see if I put that there while I read it.
Okay.
The man in this picture is looking out over a bay, above which the beautiful sphere of the earth is rotating. This card is reminding you to expand your vision and contemplate some much broader options. The world is wide, so there's a lot out there to consider. In the modern age of technology, this could specifically be referring to creating or expanding to a more global network through the internet or social marketing. Mm-hmm. Drawing this card also lets you know that you have unlimited resources available to you, and now is the time to think big. As they say, the world is your oyster, so get ready to gobble it up. Yeah. So maybe that's what it's all about, just opening up to this world of possibilities.
Sure.
You know, playing with, expanding out into, you know, tapping into the different brain waves and seeing what they feel like and what they are.
I think that's what I'm doing. That's part of the reason why I was asking for that information, was just that. It's an expansionary point. And it's a point in time. I've been saying all along that the year 2020 is for me the year of clarity. And that clarity has been definitely increasing. And we're in February now. And 1 month in, I can see it. I can feel it. There's a greater level of clarity for me anyway, and hopefully for other people too, than ever before. And I suspect that's going to keep growing. So, I mean, when you're becoming more clear is a pretty high vibrational state, you know? So it means that you're opening up to all kinds of stuff. Well, yeah, right. That's what the card just said, you know?
And this is what this whole awakening is all about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Awakening, to note it, to know that there's far more than what we can perceive based on the limitations that have been put on us.
Or that we've adopted.
Well, we've adopted them because they were put on us. We've noticed things, we've seen things, we've looked outside of ourselves as to, oh, that's how that's done. Oh, that's the way to do that. Oh, if they did it that way and they were successful, so then I mean, I will be successful too, you know, but there's whatever. There's so much more going on inside you that there's things, I would say, because of the work I do, that block you from having it appear the way it appeared for that person. It's needed to appear a different way for you. And possibly through the struggle of not getting there in that way, you may allow yourself to really explode open into the way that is best for you.
Well, yeah, I think it's ultimately what your hope is. Because no matter what anyone else has gone through, no matter what they've experienced, no matter what improvements or expansions they've had, it's theirs. It's not yours. Yours is going to be different. Everybody's going to have their own way of experiencing all this stuff. Otherwise, there'd be no point to having each of us be different people. We may be all part of the same flow, but we're still having different perspectives and different individualities and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and you know what popped into my head while you were saying that too is that a lot of times people will limit themselves because they don't realize, oh, you're gonna have to choose a number again. They don't realize what limitations they're putting on themselves by a very common thing, not allowing themselves to do better in life than their parents did, than their family did. You know, not able to step out of the box. This has been going on in my family forever. Yeah, okay, well, that's good. Now it's a time to awaken and break out of that box. We don't have to hold on to that because I guess it just keeps coming back to, this is a world of many possibilities, unlimited possibilities, so much more than we can even grasp with our human mind. So that our energy and our feelings can sense things much quicker, number one, than the brain can figure anything out. So that's why you want to tune into your body all the time. How does this feel for you? Is this the right way to go? Is this where will it work better for me going down this road? Like, ask questions, just keep asking questions. Okay, I've got 5 cards, so pick a number 1 through 5.
Well, before I was thinking 2, but now all of a sudden I'm thinking 3. So
Yeah, because I was thinking 3.
you were?
You
Okay.
picked up on it. I didn't want to say it
All right.
because I wanted you to choose. So we're going for 3.
3 sounds good.
Strengthen your gifts.
Okay.
I think that fits perfectly because, a lot of people deny their gifts again, because maybe they're thinking, well, no one's ever done that in my family.
It's a funny thing because I think what we're talking about here, as we talk about learning to pay attention intuitively, look for signs, all that kind of thing, what we're really looking for is those gifts that we don't know that we already have. We're paying attention in order to become aware of them. And as we're becoming aware of them, then of course, obviously, we can start utilizing them. But you got to know that they're there, otherwise you can't use them.
Right. And a big part of that is most of us will overlook our gifts because it's so easy for us that we think that that's nothing special because it's too easy.
Yeah.
But yes, someone else would be like, well, I can't do that. You're like, why? It's so easy. Well, that's your gift. So where are you denying yourself the ability to express and share your gifts because you don't know the value of them and everything that is? Let's pock and pod that, right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Yeah.
And also, where are you allowing yourself to utilize a gift, perhaps without even noticing it? Because we can do that. That's one thing that I've learned. I've done a lot in my life. I have some sort of a gift, some sort of a talent. I start to utilize it without realizing that I'm utilizing it, and then I look back and I say, where did that come from? What was that? And that's where I start to begin to realize, oh, okay, there's a talent, there's a gift, there's a skill, there's something I really wasn't aware I had before. So
Right.
it can kind
And
of sneak
because
up
it
on
came
you.
and it came easy. You didn't try to do it. It just was
Not at
there
all.
for you.
Yeah.
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 So
It
that's
just
the
kind
thing.
of
You want to
flowed.
notice those things that are there for you. Like
Yeah.
that's why I'm doing a lot of artistic stuff again, because that was always there for me. It's just that's the way it is,
And it certainly pays to spend more time focused on the stuff that is already a high resonant thing for you, something that feels good, because you're going to get more of the good stuff anyway just by doing that. So it's like a reminder: if you're creative in a paint way, well then do more painting, because you're going to get more of what you want by building up your energy by painting. You're just going to, they kind of fuel each other.
Because you go high vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, see, they agree with that one too. Go my dogs. All right, so this says, strengthen your gifts. Examine what's important to your spirit right now and forget the rest. Focus especially on your talents and gifts. Oh, look, see, the siren went out. Did you hear that siren? Went past my window?
I didn't hear that, no.
Another, toot toot, good message, right? Okay, focus especially on your talents and gifts and identify what you need to do to strengthen them. Don't let the negativity of the world override or sabotage your commitment to yourself. And avoid drama-filled conversations that have a demoralizing effect on you, right? So again, you can feel what feels right. And so you start to really let yourself tune in, and that's your guidance. Sometimes there's people that you really would probably be better off not being around. And sometimes when that's family, that's hard. You have to find workarounds for some of that, but a lot of times people find themselves hanging around with people that they don't really enjoy. And then you come home and you feel heavy, and it's like, you got to trust that feeling. Well, hanging out with those people isn't any fun. I'd rather do nothing and watch Netflix all night. I'd be better.
Alex King gave me a really great perspective on dealing with family members that are giving you a hard time or that you're not enjoying being around. She literally goes through the motions of putting up a barrier between herself and the other person, and tells them, I'm closing the window on you. I'm putting up the barrier, and then just ignoring. And the results that she's gotten out of that have been absolutely amazing. She has literally gotten different responses out of people who always used to treat her a certain way, just because she changed the way that she was thinking about them.
Right. Well, and because she decided that she's not going to have that energy. She's not going to take the energy on.
That's right.
She put the wall up. I'm not taking that energy on.
Yep.
Remember when we were kids? I don't know about you, if you had this expression, I'm rubber, you're glue, bounces off me and sticks on you. Did you guys say that?
I remember that one. Yeah, I didn't use that one, but I remember that one.
But that's
Yeah.
so true. Like you put that bubble of light around you and it's like, oh yeah, the love can pass through, but all that other stuff bounces away.
By the way, I love the way that Alex would actively build that wall. She would do it brick by brick. So she'd lay a brick down, and she would, with her imagination, lay some mortar on top of it and put a brick on top of that one. And she literally was being a mason, putting this wall up in front of a person who's like looking at, like, what are you doing? I'm building a wall.
All right. So I don't know if I read this. It says protect your energy against wasting protect yourself against wasting your divine energy on anything that leads to self-doubt. Because that's a lot of time that's what will come in, right? Because some people have a way of making you feel less about yourself. And that's, again, what feels right.
Right.
So it says your divine energy is calling you to direct your energy towards strengthening your talents and gifts. Beware of negativity that could sabotage your confidence. Quietly work to improve your talents and don't waste time in meaningless pursuits. It also says, believe in yourself, be faithful and consistent as you master your talents, and be patient with the demands that they make on you. With your divine helpers working alongside you, your efforts will be worthwhile in the long run. See, I like those divine helpers, that's, I couldn't, what was it? I couldn't find something. I'm like, okay, listen. Oh yeah. I couldn't find this little tweezers that I like to use. And I'm like, it made no sense that I couldn't find these. So I'm like, okay, little angel runners, you got to find this for me, right? And then like the next day I moved something over that I looked under before. It wasn't there, and there it was. I'm like, oh, thank you. That was fun. I mean, I tell you, that's another thing. I've done that so many times. I asked my little
You've gotten
divine
good at
helpers.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of stories that you've told about how you can just use that
Yeah.
that assistance from the unseen,
Yeah.
and you get it. I mean, that there's an example. Just yourself, your own experience is an example of how the more that you develop it, the more that you practice it, the better you get at it.
Right. And the more you open up, the more divine help is always there. I mean, it's there, but the more you acknowledge it, they want to be acknowledged too. It's like, listen, we want to do this work for you, not letting us in. They're like, they're not going to stop trying. I don't know if they will stop trying or not, but the more you get into even the possibility that there could be help for you outside of what you know to be so-called true, you're allowing more of that to come in. Now, there's a great video. It was just posted. There's a woman that I met through this YouTube group that I'm in. Her name's Diana Palm. She does all kinds of healing work, and she's a psychic medium as well. She did a video on orbs. So if you search Diana Palm and orbs, you'll probably find it. She just put it out like a day or two ago. And she goes in detail as to what different colors of the orbs mean and all that kind of stuff. And so I commented to her because a lot of times when I'm shooting my YouTube videos, are we out of time? No, we have time.
Nope, we're good.
Little white little things usually they're white. Well, they're always been white. Will float around and move in some kind of manner across me and I'm like, so I knew that they were orbs, but now she did this video on orbs. I'm like, okay, let me ask her about this. So I asked her and I said, I explained to that. I'm like, there's nothing, I'm looking right at the camera. There's no like little bug flying in front of the camera. It's like the middle of winter and these things are happening. All the windows are closed, and there's no like lens flare. Like sometimes you're outside, you can have lens flare and you might mistake it for an orb or something like that. So she's like, no, that definitely orbs, especially with the work that you do. You have this help in spirit. And if they're white, they're usually angels and a spirit of high vibration that are there with you. She says, I have it all the time. Sometimes they get edited out, but I usually have people say, I saw the orb here. And I've had that too. And people who know me well enough, they're like, I saw an orb here, or I'll mark the time so you can go right to where you can see the orb, So that's just fun. Why do we get on that? Because you have help in spirit. You can ask these spirit helpers. And so the more you're aware of that, in fact, today I was putting on some makeup and I had something go past me. I'm like, what the heck was that? And I looked, I'm like, did a spider come down? Like, how sometimes something could, drop from this. I'm like, there's no spider. What the heck was that? And then it happened again. I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess they're helping me put my makeup on now too. I don't know. Doing a little healing work around me.
From what I've been told, I've been told that when stuff like that happens, very often it's just a greeting. It's a way of saying I'm here to kind of remind us.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is a reminder to me. I think it's probably a reminder to many in our audience to pay attention to this kind of stuff more and more, because it's not like we have to go through life and just do it all by ourselves. We can get help. It's a great point, and you're reminding me to ask for help more often. So I'm going to make it a conscious effort going forward. I'm going to be asking more and more for outside help, outside being inside, if that makes sense.
All right. So I got another card, and I don't know if it's going to tie into anything we've talked about so far, but it says decide the outcome.
Ooh,
Hmm,
okay.
maybe so.
Well,
And that's the
that's
other
all
thing.
about law
Maybe
of
you're,
attraction right there.
yeah, and declaring to the universe, or just, I like to just ask questions about how this, what would be the best outcome for me with this going on right here, right now, or whatever. Let's see. That's number 47.
Yeah, I've noticed that you like to keep your questions very open-ended. I think you probably get a lot more information by doing that.
Well, that's something I learned through Access Consciousness.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's changing lives. It's changing my life. Just asking the question and stopping figuring it out. Everything's
Mm.
changing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. So let me see. I need these. Okay. So it says the greatest expression of spirit is to fully embrace your creative power and to use it. The ego denies that you have any and falls into the trap of feeling like a victim. Yeah. Right? Ego
Hmm.
doesn't think, ego puts the doubt and all that other stuff in the way, right?
Absolutely.
Um, this leaves you with the sense of being hopelessly at the mercy of fate and without any choice. The spirit, on the other hand, not only knows that it's a divine creator, it actively directs your creative power every day towards satisfying your goals. That's why it's important to pay attention to the signs, right? To see that you have this support and that help out there. So the simplest way to support this process is to decide the outcome of your intentions before you begin. For example, rather than hoping that you'll get a new job, decide that you'll have one and it'll be delightfully satisfying for you. Instead of praying that romance will find you, decide that you'll love and be loved fully starting today. Plan your future based on your decisions rather than dreading it based on your fears. Oh, that's a big sentence right there. Plan
Mm.
your future based on your decisions rather than dreading it based on your fears. Visualize how your goals will manifest, expect good things to come, and know that they're on their way. That's why the open ended questions, just asking questions, is good. You just know the answer is going to come. You don't have to
That's
try and
true.
figure out how it comes. Um, leave hope and wishful thinking out of it. These two are manipulations of the ego to keep you doubting that you can anticipate success. As a creative and holy being, intend what you want and expect it now.
Yeah, that wishful thinking thing really can get in the way, and it's that talk about listening to the inside, to the intuitive part. I think that's the part that Dan was talking about with the post he asked everybody to answer. What's the difference between listening to your gut and wishful thinking? That's not what he said, but that was the gist of it. Because that wishful thinking, it's especially early on as you're trying to learn this stuff, it can be very confusing. Which is this wishful thinking I'm engaging in, or am I actually listening to something? Am I actually getting a signal from something?
Yeah.
It just takes practice, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So,
And playing with it over time, because
so maybe
that's a
maybe
large
one of the
portion.
messages today is when you do find yourself bumping up against this, just ask questions. How can it get any better than this? That's a great question to ask all the time. How does it get any better than this?
Yeah, that's a way of anticipating something being better. It's basically saying,
Yeah.
yes, I know it can be better. Give me a clue how.
Or even if something awesome just happened, it can be better too.
Mm.
So whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, you just ask, how does it get any better than this?
Ask that question
Yeah.
often enough, and you're going to get some
Yeah.
surprising answers.
Ask,
Yeah.
like, what other possibilities are there for me? You
Mm.
know? Or even ask, how can I find the solution to this thing?
Hmm.
Just ask without getting caught up in the head. Because when we get caught up in that brain, first of all, it's just running off of programs that have created this result to begin with. So do you think it knows something more than what you're already doing? Because it's running off of what you already know, right? So, but
True.
when you open it up to let the universe, well, maybe the universe guides you to some kind of a book or some kind of a course that explains it all to you in the easiest manner. Well,
Mm.
that's good, right? But again, you got to feel, does that feel right? Does that feel like, does this feel, is my solution in this course? Will I feel great doing this? And see what you feel.
Yeah, what you're essentially saying is pay attention to what you're feeling. That's something we tend
Always.
to skip. We human beings tend to kind of skip over the feeling part. It's the getting into the head part, because
Yeah.
that's where we do our logical thinking, and logical thinking plays a very important role in our lives. But sometimes we need that reminder. It's a good idea to listen to the other side because the feelings tell us a lot, don't they?
Yeah. And ask for your spirit helpers to help you with anything.
Hmm.
I need a little help over here.
Yeah, right.
Who wants to help me? Yeah.
Well, speaking of help, I want to get a little help from listeners who are not yet subscribers by encouraging them to become subscribers of the podcast. And if you aren't quite sure how to do that, it's very simple. Just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net, and right at the top of the page, you'll find instructions on exactly how to subscribe. It's usually about a click or two for most people. And then after you've subscribed, first of all, share the fact that you subscribe with people that you know so they can get their daily doses of happy. But also check us out on YouTube. Like Linda said, you can actually see us as we're doing these shows because we live stream to YouTube as we're recording them. So,
Yeah.
subscribe both ways. That way you can get a double dose of it. And
Yeah. And share those things and comment. Because if you comment, ask
yeah,
questions. When Walt's here like almost every day. Ask
hmm,
questions that you want to know more about, and then he'll talk about it.
absolutely. In fact, now that you mentioned that, Cindy Chavez and I are talking about starting a new series. We just finished all the Neville books. I mean,
Wow.
we're blown away. We finished all the Neville. Well, we finished 9 of them. There's a 10th one we weren't too interested in doing, but we finished all the ones we had in mind to do. And because she's a relationship coach, she proposed, well, why don't we do some stuff, dealing with relationship issues? So anyone who has a relationship issue question of some kind, send that along and we'll address it on the Wednesday show with Cindy Chavez. So yeah, there's another reason to post about it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good stuff. Thank you very much. As usual, you help to expand our consciousness, and that's really what it's all about. So we really
That
appreciate
is
that,
what it's all about.
isn't it? Yeah, it's good.
That's why we're here. We're here to expand.
Absolutely. And for those who are already subscribers, I didn't want to leave you out because I want to recognize that you are growing in number and we appreciate every one of you. I took a quick count today, Linda. I think it was last month I said we had exceeded an average of 500 listeners per show. And I just took a quick measurement before I got on this show. We're up close to 600. It just bounced. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it's like I almost don't even trust the number because it's like, whoa, we actually got up there that quickly. That's pretty good.
Well, let's keep pulling that energy from all those people who would love to listen to these shows. Pull it in.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I'm also going to take a cue from what we've been talking about in this show about asking for help, and I'm going to put it out to spirit guides and angels and anybody else out there who's listening. Hey, help us get some more listeners here. This is going to
Yeah.
be even more fun the more people who are listening. So send them along. So thank you, Linda. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
And we'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.